When they reached Master Wang's office, the atmosphere shifted. The usual calm of the academy felt distant, replaced by a heavy sense of anticipation. Master Wang welcomed them in, his expression unreadable as he held up a letter sealed with an unfamiliar emblem. "I received this from Grand Master Chun." Master Wang began, his voice measured. "I'll answer any questions you have, but I must warn you, this group is dangerous. Many who have tried to investigate them have disappeared without a trace." Fang's posture stiffened. He already had a suspicion of who they were, but he needed confirmation. "What do you know about them so far?" Master Wang leaned back in his chair, his expression dark. "They're spies working for the Abyssal Kin." Fang's stomach tightened at the name. Master Wang continued, unaware of the storm building inside Fang. "The Abyssal Kin are a hostile race known for their mastery of blood magic. They've already invaded neighboring countries, moving like shadows. No one has seen their true forms, but they don't need to be seen to be feared. They control their enemies through blood, possessing them like puppets." The room fell into silence. Fang's fists clenched at his sides. He had heard these words before. He had seen what the Abyssal Kin could do. The memory of his parents, his mother's vacant eyes, his father's twisted movements, flashed through his mind like a wound reopening. He had to be the one to end them. He had no choice. A sharp knock at the door shattered the moment. One of the students stepped in, bowing respectfully. "Master Wang, the challenge is about to begin." Master Wang nodded before turning to Fang and the others. "The fighting hall is ready. Everyone is waiting for the challenge between Kai and Fang." Fang exhaled sharply, his frustration clear. "We didn't come here for this, we don't have time." Master Wang, however, remained firm. "Not showing up for the challenge will raise questions and suspicions. If you refuse, people will start to wonder what you're hiding." Fang's jaw tightened, but he understood. His fight with Kai was inevitable, but right now it felt like a distraction. He cast one last glance at the letter on Master Wang's desk, his mind still consumed by the name Abyssal Kin. With no other choice, they made their way to the fighting hall. As they entered, a large crowd had already gathered, their excitement palpable. All eyes were on Kai, who stood confidently in the center, arms crossed, waiting. A smirk tugged at the corner of Kai's lips as he saw Fang approaching. "Took you long enough," he said, his tone laced with amusement. "I was starting to think you were scared." Fang didn't flinch. He walked to the center of the hall with steady steps, his expression unreadable. The energy in the room crackled with anticipation as the two faced off. Kai, a level 5 fighter, radiated raw power. He stood relaxed, exuding arrogance, his stance oozing confidence. Unlike Fang, he had no doubts about this fight. He expected to win. Kai tilted his head, his voice deliberately taunting. "You know, all that brooding of yours won't help you in a real fight. Maybe if you smiled more, people wouldn't think you were made of stone." His grin widened. "Or is that just how all level 6 fighters act when they're past their prime?" Fang remained still, unfazed by the provocation. He had fought stronger opponents before. Kai's words meant nothing. The crowd murmured, sensing the tension. Some laughed at Kai's jab, while others watched Fang closely, waiting for a reaction. Kai took a step forward. "Come on, Fang. Show me if that level 6 experience of yours is worth anything, or if you're just another washed-up fighter clinging to old glory." Fang finally met Kai's gaze, his voice calm but firm. "You talk too much." Kai chuckled. "And you think too much." He cracked his knuckles, rolling his shoulders. "Let's see which one wins in the end." The referee stepped forward, raising his hand. The hall fell silent. "Begin." As the fight began, Kai immediately tried to get under Fang's skin. "I guess Ronan's defeat last night wasn't enough for you," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "You're next, Fang." But Fang remained unshaken. He saw through Kai's provocations and moved with calculated precision, deflecting Kai's initial flurry of attacks with ease. Kai lunged forward with a sharp jab aimed at Fang's face, but Fang sidestepped effortlessly, redirecting the blow with a subtle flick of his wrist. Kai followed up with a powerful roundhouse kick, but Fong ducked low, his movements fluid as he swept his leg at Kai's ankle. Kai stumbled but quickly recovered, launching a rapid series of punches at Fong's midsection. Fong blocked each strike efficiently, his arms absorbing the impact. But he wasn't just defending, he was studying Kai, reading his patterns, waiting for an opening. Kai's frustration grew. No matter how fast he attacked, Fong was always ahead, anticipating, countering, controlling the fight. No, you're stronger than this. You shouldn't be struggling. You are faster. You are stronger. Kai clenched his fists, the voice echoing through his skull. When Kai attempted a spinning back fist, Fong flowed past it, slipping inside his guard like a shadow. His elbow shot forward, a precise, bone-rattling strike to Kai's ribs. Kai grunted, staggering, but Fong wasn't done. With a sharp pivot, he unleashed a blazing fast sidekick to Kai's chest. The impact sent Kai skidding across the floor, breathless, humiliated. The crowd gasped. The voice echoed again through his skull. "Why are you losing? He's making a fool of you. Everyone is watching. Even her." Kai's eyes flicked toward the crowd, toward Sarah. Her gaze was locked on the fight, unreadable. A spark of shame burned in his chest. His expression twisted in fury. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. With his pride on the line, Kai snapped. His spiritual energy surged, his body glowing with a violent aura. His speed and power doubled, his fists striking out in a blur. But Fong remained calm. He could see it now, Kai was relying on power, not control. Every move was wild, desperate. Kai's glowing fist rocketed toward him. Fong moved at the last second, blocking with absolute precision before driving his knee into Kai's gut. Kai gasped, reeling, but refused to yield. With a furious roar, he unleashed a barrage of kicks, each one crackling with raw energy. Fong effortlessly redirected them, his footwork flawless, his stance unshaken. Kai spun into a final high kick, aiming for Fong's head. But Fong had already seen it coming. He ducked low, and in one swift motion, swept Kai's leg out from under him. Kai slammed onto the ground. The hall erupted in gasps. But Kai wasn't done. He rolled to his feet, panting, his expression twisted in fury. His pride was shattered. He had never been humiliated like this. Kai staggered, gasping. The voice in his head turned into whispers, and the whispers coiled around him. "She sees you losing. She sees you weak. You are better than this. Let me help you." His mind was spinning. Was that his own thought? "Let me give you power." Kai froze for a fraction of a second. Fong moved instantly, taking advantage. Kai barely saw the sweep coming. His leg was taken out from under him. The ground slammed into his back. Gasps filled the hall. Kai rolled to his feet, panting, his face contorted in fury. His pride was shattered. His hands clenched into trembling fists. And then the whisper laughed. "This isn't just a fight anymore, is it? No, this is survival. This is power." Kai's chest rose and fell in erratic bursts. The voice was inside him now. "I can show you. I can make you stronger." The voice wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a presence, a force curling through his veins. Kai inhaled, and when he exhaled, his anger gave way. His breathing slowed, his fingers curled, his eyes darkened. The crowd saw nothing but a fighter regaining his composure. Fong saw something worse. Kai lifted his hand, and a small glass bottle materialized in his palm. Master Wang shot up from his seat, his face drained of color. "Kai, stop!" But it was too late. Kai tilted his head back and drank. Almost instantly, Kai's body convulsed, his form twisting unnaturally as if possessed by a demonic force. His limbs blurred, appearing and disappearing around him in a nightmarish display, multiplying as if he had more than his normal set. Gasps and murmurs filled the hall as the spectators recoiled, horrified by the transformation. Then, Kai's body suddenly stilled. A red halo of energy flared around him, small drops of blood rising from his skin, defying gravity. His breathing deepened, controlled yet eerily unnatural, as if something else had taken over. His eyes gleamed with something inhuman. Then, without warning, He vanished. Fong barely had time to react before a force slammed into him from the side, sending him staggering. The attack had come out of nowhere. Kai was no longer just fast, he was teleporting between strikes, his movements erratic, almost supernatural. Fong steadied himself just in time to see a clawed hand streaking toward his throat. He twisted his body, dodging by a hair, but the sheer force of Kai's attack sent a sharp gust through the air. Kai pressed his advantage. He spun into a vicious backhand, his elongated claws raking through the air toward Fong's face. Fong threw himself backward, narrowly escaping, but Kai was relentless. He unleashed a flurry of slashes, forcing Fong onto the defensive. For the first time in the fight, Fong wasn't in control, he was surviving. A glancing strike slipped through, tearing across Fong's side. A thin line of blood appeared, soaking into his uniform. The crowd fell silent. The predator had become the prey. Seeing their friend in danger, Ronan and Kira instinctively rose to help, their fists clenched. But Fong shot them a sharp glance, a silent order. Stay back. This was his fight. Kai's power was growing more unstable. His body trembled, his breath rasping as his transformation pushed further. His fangs elongated, his fingers curled into jagged claws. His body flickered, appearing in multiple places at once, each illusion just as deadly as the real him. Fong knew he couldn't outmatch Kai's raw speed, but he didn't need to. Closing his eyes for a fraction of a second, Fong exhaled, his energy shifting. A deep calm settled over him as his aura changed, no longer just an extension of himself, but a force that blurred the space around him. When he moved again, afterimages trailed in his wake, confusing the eye. Kai lunged but struck empty air. His claws sliced through a flickering illusion of Fong, only for the real Fong to slip past his guard, a ghost among shadows. His movements were precise, fluid, untouched by Kai's chaotic onslaught. Each time Kai thought he had him, Fong was somewhere else, untouchable. Kai snarled, his fury blinding. His attacks became even more vicious but also more reckless. His monstrous strength was undeniable, but Fong had seen the fatal flaw. Kai was relying entirely on power, sacrificing control. And that was exactly what Fong had been waiting for. Kai roared, lunging forward with a final, all-consuming strike. Fong moved. One perfect step. One precise strike. Fong's palm shot forward, his spiritual energy focused into a single point. The blow struck Kai's chest with devastating force, a shockwave blasting through the air. For the first time, Kai's eyes widened, not in rage, but in realization. He had lost. The moment of impact stole his breath, his body locking up in shock. But Fong wasn't done. He followed up with a series of rapid, pinpoint strikes, each one landing with brutal efficiency. One to the stomach, one to the ribs, one to the jaw. Kai reeled, coughing blood, his form flickering violently as his unstable power failed him. With one final, merciless strike, Fong sent Kai crashing into the ground. The hall fell into stunned silence. For a moment, Kai's body twitched. His hands clenched as if he might rise again. Then the red glow faded. His body went limp. The demon inside him was silent. Kai was defeated. The fight was over. Fong remained standing, but just barely. His glowing aura flickered before vanishing completely, leaving him drained. His breath came in ragged gasps, and his vision blurred for a moment as he placed a trembling hand on the ground to steady himself. His wound throbbed, each pulse sending sharp pain through his side. Ronan and Kira rushed to his side, catching him before he could collapse. "Easy," Ronan muttered, throwing Fong's arm over his shoulder. "We've got you." The crowd, once roaring with excitement, had fallen into stunned silence. They had witnessed something unnatural. Kai's monstrous transformation, his terrifying speed, and the sheer brutality of the fight. No one dared to speak, their gazes shifting between Fong and the broken stage where Kai had fallen. Fong, still struggling to catch his breath, met Master Wang's eyes across the courtyard. "We need to talk," he said, his voice firm despite his exhaustion. Master Wang nodded solemnly. Ronan and Kira helped Fong back to their room. As soon as they entered, Fong groaned, sagging onto the nearest chair. His face twisted in pain as he pressed a hand to his side. "There's something wrong with this wound," he muttered. "It's burning, like it's spreading deeper." Ronan crouched beside him, examining the injury. His expression darkened. "This isn't normal. It looks infected, no, cursed. I need to get help." Ronan turned toward the door, but before he could leave, a sharp knock echoed through the room. Master Wang stepped inside, carrying a set of magical bandages. Without a word, he began wrapping them around Fong's wound, the fabric glowing faintly as it absorbed the corruption. Slowly, the pain lessened. Then Master Wang spoke, his tone grave. "Kai is missing." Ronan and Kira froze. Fong's tired mind struggled to process the words. "What?" "He disappeared from the medical room," Wang continued. "No one saw him leave, but there was blood on the floor, leading out of the infirmary." A cold unease settled over the room. Kai had been unconscious, barely alive after the fight. He shouldn't have been able to move, let alone escape. Before they could discuss it further, a frantic pounding came at the door. A student stumbled in, breathless. "The school is under attack." Fong immediately forced himself to his feet, despite the lingering pain. "By who?" The student swallowed hard. "We don't know, but someone took Sarah." Another student rushed in, his face pale. "There's a blood trail leading into the old building." Ronan clenched his fists. "I'm going after her." Master Wang caught his arm. "Wait, I suspect Sarah was involved in giving Kai the blood potion. This could be a trap." Ronan hesitated, but only for a second. His jaw tightened. "I don't care. I'm not leaving her." Kira turned to Fong, concern in his eyes. "Can you fight?" Fong exhaled, testing his movement. His body still ached, but his strength was returning. He rolled his shoulders, pushing past the pain. "I'll manage." Master Wang's expression darkened. "You're walking into danger. Let me go instead." Fong shook his head. "No. If the school is under attack, you need to be here." He turned to Kira and Ronan. "We'll handle it." Master Wang hesitated, then finally nodded. "Be careful." As the three of them stepped outside, the night air was thick with tension. The scent of blood lingered. Somewhere in the distance, a scream rang out. Fong exchanged a look with Ronan and Kira. Then, without another word, they ran toward the old building, following the blood trail into the unknown.